Welcome to your practice. So today we're going to be focusing primarily on practices that allow us to build self-awareness. So while we move through this practice, you might notice that there are times where you're feeling really open to feel what you feel, and that's wonderful. And equally, you might have little moments where you might need a little break. Sometimes it can feel like a lot to go and feel what's going on, particularly if we're having a day where we're more symptomatic. And that's perfectly okay as well. What I would recommend in those cases is perhaps not to completely avoid the practice, but this is where you can use something called pendulation, where the idea would be to allow yourself to gently visit what you're experiencing through the awareness practice, and then pendulate your attention to something that is on the outside of you that feels quite positive or neutral to you. So for example, I might be lying down and feeling what I'm feeling and noticing, some challenging sensations within the chest. I might simply open up the eyes and have a look at the flowers that are nearby. Maybe I have my little olive nearby, and I might actually use my sense of touch to touch her. And doing that to really bring full attention on something on the outside of me, but we're still being mindful. We're still present with the moment versus allowing the mind to float to future or past. So take your time, really honor your system's need on any given day. And you can use this practice in full, listening to the whole video, or perhaps you might want to pick one or two of these practices and use them as part of your sadhana, or maybe as one of our kind of, rescue practices that we might need in moments that things are feeling a little bit challenging and we need to come back inwards. So to start today's practice, I'll invite you to start lying down on your back, but if you prefer being upright in a seat, that's perfectly okay as well. So as you come to lie on your back, you can either have the soles of the feet on the ground and the knees bent, or you might prefer to have the legs out straight. You might even want to use a bolster and place it underneath the knees. And so we lie down with maybe the palms facing up for a bit more of an open kind of receiving posture. Or if we're needing to feel a bit more grounded, you can opt for palms facing down here. And then as you land into this posture, just take a moment to notice if you're needing any extra little comforts. If you need a pillow underneath the head or a little adjustment, little wiggle of the body, and know that it's okay if you're not quite feeling completely settled yet. We've got some time for that. So as we settle down lying, I'll just invite you to start feeling the structure underneath you. So just starting to notice the texture of the mat, or perhaps it's the carpet, or maybe even the floor for some of us. And here we start becoming aware of the texture of the surface underneath us. And as you notice that texture underneath you, really start noticing the support it has to offer you. Notice if there's any form of cushioning that you can experience underneath you. Notice how the cushioning kind of welcomes the body with that little bit more softness and ease. And then notice how in this moment, you're in a very safe space. Use that structure underneath you to communicate to the nervous system that I am held. And by being held, I can trust that I am safe. And then gently, you can start bringing the awareness a little bit more inwards, witnessing the breath that's occurring within the body. You don't need to change anything about the breath at the moment. Just witness it, as if you were watching a movie of the breath. And notice its different components. You might notice the temperature of the air moving in being a little cooler in contrast to the temperature of the air moving out of the nostrils being a little warmer. If it's possible, try and keep the mouth shut and move the air through the nose. Might be able to start noticing a certain rhythm to the breath. Again, trusting that the rhythm that's being experienced right now is perfectly okay. You don't need to change it, analyze it, or judge it. We're simply bringing awareness to the breath, creating more intimacy with ourselves. Remembering we've got that option to pendulate the attention from the inner world to the outer world whenever we need. We might be able to start noticing the breath in a particular area of the torso. Maybe you start even searching for it without any particular goal of finding it somewhere. Is the breath more at the chest or at the belly? Is it more on the left side or the right side? Maybe the front of the body, or perhaps we can even feel it at the back of the body or around the rib cage. Just staying with that for a few more moments. Now you have the option of starting to gently guide the breath to an inhalation that lasts for a count of 4, and the exhalation lasts for a count of 4. So just gently starting to smooth out the breath to an even part breath. And you might notice that sending the inhales down to the lower belly to let it inflate a little bit allows you a little bit more kind of capacity to guide it to last longer. And then we simply allow the exhale to create a little bit of a relaxation of the belly. So an optional in for 4, out for 4. Or maybe we're just breathing gently in and out of the nose. Staying here for about a minute or so. Now, gently, gently, if you've been lying on your back, this is where you might want to start thinking about how you're going to get up to a seat really gently. I would offer the idea of lying on one side for a moment and pausing. And then without any rush, when you're ready, using the arms to help you push up. So it feels really light and easy. And coming up to a comfortable seat. And once you land in your seat, you might want to sit on top of a cushion or bolster. You might even want to have your back against the wall to make it light and easy, where you can stack the head right on top of the pelvis so that we can have length in the spine and an open chest to breathe. But there's still some softness to the posture. It's not stiff and tight. There's a little bit of gentleness. So you might want to even wiggle around to find that balance. Then once you find your seat, you might want to close the eyes down once again if they're not already. This is where we'll develop our sankalpa, or our intention for the practice. So you might want to bring your attention towards the heart space, maybe bringing the hands in this space, hands on top of the heart or in a prayer position. And without it coming from a calculated mind space, can you simply ask yourself, what do I want to cultivate throughout this practice? Perhaps it's, how do I want to feel through the practice of yoga to support my life on the day-to-day. Whatever drops in, let that be your intention for today. And simply repeat it to yourself 3 times in the present tense in a very simple way. For example, it might be, I am safe. I am calm. I am aware. I am energized. And allow yourself to feel the Sankalpa at the heart space for a moment. And then simply let it go. Bringing your attention to the head as we gently bring some awareness to the body through a little bit of gentle movement. So we'll just start with dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. And then we'll slowly sway the head down, semicircling it, left ear to left shoulder. And then letting that heavy head just drop heavy in front of us and then shifting side to side with an intention not to stretch, but to explore what it feels like to allow the head to move in these directions. And you might keep the movement really, really small to explore in more detail. Or maybe some of us need to make the movement a little bit bigger to get some feedback about the sensation. And then, of course, if there's any sort of pain or something doesn't feel right with this motion, please adjust it. You could even close the eyes down and simply kind of visualize yourself engaging in this movement. And here we are just exploring a little bit of gentle movement without any intention to create anything in particular, other than just a sense of what is, what am I feeling? And then we'll gently bring the head back to center and take a little pause. Notice the breath. And if you're not already, you might want to re-engage with that breath of 4 in, 4 out throughout the gentle movement practice. And bringing the attention to the shoulders and starting to circle them a little as well. So just starting with the shoulders moving upwards, then back, then down, then forwards. Taking it really slow here so that we can give ourselves enough time to feel what's happening in the shoulder joints. Might feel very similar on the right and left. Maybe it's quite different. You could let the motion expand and become bigger if that feels interesting to you. Again, remembering the goal here is not to build strength or stretch the body, but just getting to know the shoulders. This ball and socket joint can be really, really interesting. And those of us who are hypermobile, the more we get to know them, the more we can actually start working with those joints in a way that's actually safer and more comfortable and more functional. You might want to swap and move the shoulders in the other direction, rolling the shoulders forward, and just noticing the difference there. Keeping a nice steady breath in and out of the nose. And then let's pause for a moment. And then with your mind's eye, locate the rib cage, the upper torso, the chest. And then we'll start exploring some little circles here. One motion that can feel a little bit more different. So you might want to start with pushing the chest forward just a little, and then shift it to the right, shift it back, and then to the left, and then forward, to the right, back, left, forward. And then you might want to round out those motions. Again, really taking your time to explore, knowing that this doesn't have to look any sort of way. And this is not a body part that we usually isolate. So if this is feeling a little awkward for you, great. You're probably doing the right thing. Allow it to feel awkward with no judgment, not trying to fix anything. And just rolling through the torso to whatever capacity feels comfortable for you. You might want to explore going in the different direction, or maybe you just want to stick one way for today. Whatever you're doing, can you keep the breath involved, allowing it to be smooth in and out of the nose? Just one more little rotation here. Then we'll come to a pause and just sitting. A nice tall spine, but a little bit of relaxation in the body again. And here, allow your breath to just move naturally. And notice how you're breathing in this fresh moment. The breath can be a really useful communicator. It can have a lot of information for us. So sometimes we can pause and notice, oh, my breath has actually moved up to my chest a lot. Maybe I'm efforting a little bit much and I can soften again. Maybe we notice, oh, I'm breathing with a little bit more ease. My system is responding to this in a way where it's feeling safe and calm and relaxed. Just a little check-in. And then gently, I'll invite you to come back to lying on your back. And as you lie on the back, you can bring the knees in towards the chest, holding on to the right knee with the right hand, left knee with the left hand. Of course, make any adjustments you might need to do for this to feel comfortable. And then we're going to explore circling the hips. So all we need to do for that is circle the knees with the hands. So just start with bringing the knees in towards the chest a little. And then we split the knees out to the side and then bring them down and then back inwards. So we're doing circles that are kind of moving outwards. And as you're moving the knees, just bring your attention to the hip joints. As we're working through circumduction of the hips, so the hips can really move in all directions here. You might even notice the back getting a little bit of a massage. If some of us have some hip stuff going on, we might need to adjust and maybe even do one knee at a time in order to make one side a little bit bigger, the other side a little bit smaller, whatever you need. And just use this practice again to explore the body, the hip joints in this case. Notice how the breath responds, and can you soften the breath through the nostrils if you're noticing the body feeling a little tense through this. You might want to circle the opposite way. Beautiful. And then we'll pause here. You could either keep the knees into the chest for a little knee hug for a moment, or you might want to extend the legs out and open up through the front of the hips. And whatever you choose, now bring your attention to the ankles, and we'll start drawing little circles with the ankles. It might be with the legs stretched out, moving the ankles around, probably outwards to start off. But have the knee hug held and doing your ankle circles from here. And you know the drill now. Just explore without judgment, without trying to change anything. If you hear a few little clicks and cracks, that's okay, that's normal. You just want to look out for any sharp pain and definitely adjust if that's the case. You might want to go in the other direction as well for a few moments of exploring the ankle joints. And then we'll pause either extending the legs out or having soles of the feet on the earth, knees bent. We'll come back to where we started, maybe with the palms up or palms down. Sinking into a position that's going to feel fairly comfortable for you. Again, if you need to add in any cushioning, please go ahead. And then another beautiful little awareness building practice is a quick body scan. We'll just work our way from the bottom of the body all the way up. Once again, just scanning through certain body parts with absolutely no goal to change how we feel. There's no need to change your positioning or try to relax something. But if that happens naturally, you can allow that to happen. But here we're just going to witness the different body parts, again, bringing more attention and connection of mind to body. So letting go of any expectations of the body scan. Just feeling the feet, the right foot and the left foot. Just feeling the connection of the heels to the ground, maybe it's the soles of the feet. Noticing the toes. And then bringing the awareness to the right ankle and the left ankle. Allowing them to simply be as they are. Then awareness moves up the right leg, lower leg, the right knee, the right thigh, and the right buttocks. Allowing the right leg to exist just as it is. And noticing the left lower leg, the left knee, the left thigh, hamstring, and buttocks. Noticing the entire pelvis resting on the earth. Witnessing the lower abdomen, middle, the right side of the chest, the left side of the chest. And then bringing the attention to the lower back. Attention moves up the back, to the middle, the upper back, the right shoulder blade. Notice the left shoulder blade. Moving up and witnessing the left shoulder, the left upper arm, the elbow, the left lower arm, the hand, and each of the 5 fingers. Bringing the attention to the right shoulder, the right upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, the right hand, and each of the 5 fingers. Allowing everything to be just as it is. Trusting that the body is perfectly fine as it is right now. The more acceptance we can bring to how we are in every given moment, the more we can naturally soften and heal and grow. Noticing the whole head resting on the earth. The back of the head, the face, the left ear, the right ear, and the crown of the head. Notice the entire body resting on the mat. Noticing the connection to the earth, the body being supported, and just witness the experience of the moment. And then allowing yourself to rest in Shavasana. In Shavasana, we completely let go of any sort of efforting or trying to guide the mind or move the body. You might want to turn the palms up if they've been facing down. If you wanted to pull a blanket on top of you, this is a good time to do so. Just make sure you're nice and comfortable for your final resting posture. And here, give yourself full permission to have the best rest of the day. Fully free of all responsibilities. You're free of expectations. You're free of judgment. And just be present here for the next few minutes. I'll be quiet and I will reawaken you in a moment. And if you're feeling like you've really let go and you're enjoying your rest, you can stay here as long as you like and release back into reawakening when you feel ready. And if the time is now, you can gently bring a little bit of movement into the hands, maybe circling out the wrists and perhaps the extremities of the ankles, wiggling the toes out. And again, make your way on your side to come into a little resting kind of posture where you can just relax for a moment and pause. You can transition really gently. You might want to keep the eyes closed as you move back up to a supported seat. Maybe sitting on top of a bolster again. And then I want to bring the attention back to the heart and maybe again a hand gesture of hands in a prayer position or hands holding the heart. And come back to your sankalpa, that intention you set earlier in the practice. Just a moment to remember the sankalpa. Bring it back into the awareness. And trusting that what you've cultivated in today's practice will follow you when you step off the mat. And then you have the option to gently bow the head down as we take a moment to feel some gratitude for the yoga practice. For all of us that are practicing this sadhana together, holding space for each other just by existing, collaborating. And a very important moment to feel some gratitude for yourself. Taking this very important moment of self-care, of devotion, to allow yourself to continue to cultivate a healthy, happy, expansive life that you deserve. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.